Hello and welcome to The Word, bringing you the good news of Jesus Christ every day from the order of preachers around the world. Today is the feast of St. Martin de Porres, and from Jamaica we hear from Father Clifton Harris, a pastor in Kingston, with a preaching entitled A Great, Humble, and Compassionate Man.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When the Pharisees heard that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, a scholar of the law, tested him by asking, "Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest?" He said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. The whole law and the prophet depends on these two commandments." The Gospel of the Lord. Today, we celebrate the feast of St. Martin de Porres, a man who in his own time was seen as lonely and insignificant. Now, reading about St. Martin's life, I see so much about it that parallel the life experiences of people I minister amongst in Kingston, Jamaica. Martin checks a number of boxes, issues that my people have faced in the past, and some are still facing today. Let me share with you some of the facts pulled from Martin's life. Martin, born out of wedlock, parents never married. Martin de Porres was the son of a Spanish nobleman, and his mother was of African descent, a Panamanian ex-slave living in Lima, Peru. His father left home after the birth of a child. I'm told his sister after him. Single-parent household raised by his mother. This is so true for many people I minister amongst. Martin also encountered racism and racist law, racial discrimination. His father at first denied that Martin was a dark-skinned and was not his son. Needless to say, Martin did not enjoy the advantages that his father's nobility and affluence might otherwise have provided. This I see so many times in my community and amongst persons that I minister with. So many fatherless children, so many paternity fraud, mocked, ridiculed by others for his race and background. Martin carried the burdens of unjust and prejudiced society in the early 17th century. Martin was not allowed to join something as a full member on account of his race. Martin did not immediately become a member of the Dominican order. At length, he underwent formation, and after 8 years, he became a lay brother due to his mixed race heritage. Martin was assigned the most menial of tasks. More likely, Martin de Porres worked as a servant in the priory, and as you can imagine, in that century, 17th century Peru, there was a lot of back-breaking work to be done. Along the way, the superiors of the house saw something special in Martin. He humbly accepted his role, taking on the most menial tasks, such as sweeping, cleaning, and caring for the sick. Martin saw his work not as drudgery, but as a prayer offered to God. Every chore, no matter how small, was a way to express his profound faith. As he is quoted as saying, "Everything, even sweeping, scraping vegetables, weeding a garden, and waiting on the sick could be a prayer if it were offered to God." I could not help but think, man, Martin lived a life not too different from us. He faced many challenges in his life, including racial discrimination and poverty. What young Martin did have was an unwavering faith and his commitment to serving others. But as he had a life that showcased a bit of our struggle, he also had a life that showcased a bounty of triumph. Even when life tried to keep him out of his calling and preserved and fought the devil's lie of racism with God's truth of love. Even though he was racially discriminated against, he never returned it with hatred, but followed the Lord's call to bless his persecutors. He was a gospel man, today's gospel, loving everyone. Now, in all of this, 3 final lessons that we can take from Martin's life that teaches us. What are they? Humility, compassion, and love. His path to sainthood reminds us that true greatness is found on the path of humility. Humble yourself. He lived a life of profound humility, often referring himself as a broom for the poor. He saw no task as too menial, and he embraced every opportunity to serve others with joyful heart. In a world that often values pride and ambition, Martin's humility reminds us that greatness lies in selfless service. The second thing about Martin's life is that St. Martin was marked by profound compassion. He cared for the sick and the suffering, showing kindness to all he encountered. One of the most powerful lessons from his life comes from an encounter with a sick beggar. When a brother reproached Martin for bringing a filthy, diseased man into the convent, Martin's reply cut straight to the heart of the gospel. Compassion is preferable to cleanliness. Martin understood what Jesus taught, that mercy and love for the forgotten and the outcasts are what truly matter. Today, in our world, there are countless opportunities to follow in his footsteps by reaching out to those who are less fortunate and offering them our support and love. Martin's dedication to the marginalized and the outcast challenges us to examine our own lives and asks us whether we are reaching out to those in need in our communities. Final word. St. Martin, therefore, for me, was a living example of Christ's love. His actions was a testament to his deep faith and his commitment to living out the gospel message. He did not just preach, he practiced it in every aspect of his life. In our daily lives, let us strive to do the same, to love, not just in words, but in our actions and deeds. In a world often marked by division and discord, Martin de Porres calls us to unity and solidarity. He embraced people of all backgrounds, showing that God's love knows no bounds. He reached out to animals and nature, recognizing the interconnectedness of all creation, all of God's creation. And so, on this memorial of St. Martin de Porres, our Dominican brother, we remember his legacy. We strive to live lives of humility, compassion, and love. We can become instruments of God's peace and healing in a broken world. And most importantly, remember that, like St. Martin, we too can make a difference through our faith, our action, and our love. Martin shows us a life of strength and holiness that can be found in ordinary life with ordinary tasks as he worked the most basic jobs while later advancing from them. May we, like him, become instruments of God's peace, love, and healing in a broken world through our faith, action, and love. It makes a difference, just as he did. Amen.